Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
And we are back this week with your Survivor News covering Survivor Season 43, Episode 5. And I am joined with the baby boy, the Jack Atkins from the Netflix Circle Season 2. And the floor is lava. What's popping, baby boy?
Woo! Brice, where am I at right now? Do you know?
I mean, the background it's not giving dorm room. So, I mean, is it the city of brotherly love?
How'd you know that? Just by the background. That's right. I obviously but for the listeners at home, I was at the Brice and Jack Presents Homecoming Philadelphia last night.
Oh,
Brice put me up in this lovely hotel. So I'm sticking around, and I had a great time. So Brice and I are kicking it after this, going to grab some food, and it's just good to be in the city of brotherly love.
yeah. And shout out to Philadelphia for definitely showing up and showing out the vibes, the movement where it definitely, Philly always shows out, but I feel like this time they show out. We had a lot of surprise guests, but Jack was in the building.
You had by surprise guest too, you had the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers was there. I think everyone was surprised. You know he was coming?
I mean, I had got wind that he was coming, but we weren't sure if he was actually going to come. But it was crazy because he's one of those people that if you know, and the sports fans that were in the building watching the Phillies, they were just shocked. Bryson win, no people. But just a huge shout out to everyone that came out. The love was so amazing. And if I didn't get to say hi, I apologize. I tried to do as much as I could, but it was just the vibes was just going crazy. Baby boy, I feel like I saw Jack once.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, but I've never had a bad time at a Brice and Jack Presents. So
hey,
anyone else who's in Boston or y'all did DC so far? Boston?
Not yet. So we've got Boston coming up November 9th. And listen, Boston is practically sold out. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, Boston, we're headed to you next. We're getting ready to drop our flyer. So Boston, pull on up. And then from Boston, we've got the district in DC. Okay, we're hitting the district twice. We'll be there with Rob, and then we are coming back in December, and then the grand finale December 14th. And again, the finale list is shaping up to be so amazing. So listen, the first leg of the Brice and Jack Present tour is a wrap, and now we are gearing up for our second leg. We are hitting Boston, DC.
Wait, Brice, can you go back to that Boston flyer real quick?
Oh, okay. Let's go back to the Boston flyer for the baby boy.
Interesting.
Oh,
no, I was just because I'm going home for Thanksgiving break, but I think that might be a little later. But I was thinking maybe I could. Scoot on over to Boston because my best friend's in Boston.
So yeah, we would definitely love to have you. And listen, get your tickets for the Brice and Jack Present Boston, DC, LA. Click the link in my Instagram bio, click the link in Wendell's Instagram bio, or head over to the Brice and Jack Present Instagram or our Twitter, Brice and Win, and definitely bless your life. I don't know about you, Jack, but I definitely made it a concerted effort to watch the episode. I started to. So I started off, I was good. And then, we doing the giveaways. And then, the champagne, I had to take a shot. And then, your baby boy was off to the races.
A lot of people, the vibes were immaculate in Philadelphia. A lot of made me feel warm and welcome. And a lot of people were trying to buy me shots, and I was like, guys, I'm trying to be responsible out here. But one thing led to another, and we might have been a little tipsy, but it was a good time. Brice, I do want to say,
okay,
I mentioned Wait, so I watched. It was hard to watch last night. It was chaotic. I watched it again today. Were you able to catch it again, or
Yeah, I
you were
had to do a
working?
rewatch.
Mhm.
So I did a rewatch earlier today on my lunch break because baby boy had to get up early
Yeah.
and
Oh.
go to work. So I was like, okay, my lunch break, I'm going to watch Survivor. But then I realized I ain't have nothing to eat. And I just watched your Instagram story. And I feel like your late dinner, my lunch was sponsored by Wawa.
Mhm. I had it for the first time last night, and it was actually really funny. At the Wawa, we were checking out, and the cashier was like, and she had like a Delk. I was in Conshohocken
Oh, Concha
with
Hawk.
my boy Mitch and Ed, and they got the accent, the Delco accent, and she was like, "Hey, you just look like that dude from the Circle," and I was like, "I am that dude from the Circle." She's like, "No way, you know Mitch and Eddie?" And I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Oh my." They're like family, and then she was like freaking out, and then I was a little drunk, so I started talking to. I was like, "Oh, you know Mitch and Eddie?" And we took a picture, and I had a phenomenal sandwich. It was just a good time. But Brice, before we hop into the
Wait,
episode,
before we even go into this, I just have to correct you. That's not your first time having a Wawa sandwich.
oh,
Do you remember
the
the last
last
time
time I
that you were
was
in
here,
Philly
you
and I
took
was like, but I think you got before, because I'm such a
no,
hospitable host, that
yeah,
when I checked you into your room, I
you're
left you a
right,
little goodie bag, and I
you're
definitely
right.
left you a Philly hoagie from Wawa.
You're absolutely right. My fault. That's the first time I've been to a Wawa, but
Okay.
you're absolutely the baby boy has blessed me with some Wawa in the past. But I wanted to say I was talking about this with you before the episode, but we all I always come with some new tricks up my sleeve for
Oh,
each episode.
okay, what you
Um,
got?
but I know in the past you said I need some hoochie daddy shorts. And so I have these shorts that were way too long. They like went down to my knees. So I cut them to be
Oh,
like a little shorter. But I need to know if these qualify
as
as hoochie daddy short. Oh,
oh no, Jack,
oh,
First of all, those are fire, Jack, and
thank you, thank you.
they definitely are hoochie daddy shorts.
Let's go.
I always think it's so funny when people meet you in person, and I forget that. Like, I sometimes forget how tall Jack is, but I think that that's the first people when people meet you. They're like, baby boy is tall.
Yeah, but now they're gonna be saying, "Baby boy got the hoochie daddy shorts." It's a
um,
look.
it's a look. It definitely is a look. Keep
Is
them
this
if you.
giving? Is this giving Survivor 45?
I mean, that definitely would get you the Bryce Isaiah stamp of approval. Okay, thumbs in
Let's
the
go.
pocket.
Thumbs in the
Okay,
pockets.
we see you, baby boy.
But anyways, yeah. So let's get into the episode. It's. I feel like it's hit it. Sorry, I feel like it's
Oh,
hitting extra different after we watched it together at the event last night. So I'm excited to break it all down.
for sure.
Um, but we start
Oh
off.
wait, time out. We forgot to address the elephant in the room. Wendeezy is on spring break. Okay. We had the battle of the moderators, and I said, you know what? We just going with Jack Psych.
We're
Wen-
firing them. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Wendell had a beef delivery in Atlanta. So Wendell and Joey are headed to Atlanta currently, and then they will be in Atlanta next week for Davy's Halloween watch party.
Mhm.
So, head over to Davy Rickenbacker's Instagram page. There are tickets available. And so, yeah. So that's where the baby boy Wendeezy is currently today. But, we're going to say he on spring break.
Mhm. I miss him already. If he needs to be moderator next time, he could do it. I don't want him to leave the pod. Nah, I'm kidding. But another week, another Jack Atkins moderating
Oh.
such now. And so and without Wendell here, I feel like it's a little more chaotic because it almost just feels like we're FaceTiming right now. You know what I mean?
Our
So
FaceTime's chaotic.
they can be. Yeah. But this is the podcast, so I gotta
Okay.
I gotta stay focused. But so we start off, we're over at the Baka tribe, and Janine and Ellie are on the search for potentially some idols, some advantages, and
Well, time out, Jack. Let me do my moderator skills as well, because I feel like
Mhm.
we start off at Coco.
Yes.
from last week. And I feel like, Cassidy came back. Spicy Cassidy. I think that I have to say, we saw her last week at the challenge when Noelle and Dwight was helping Baka. And, Jack said, how do you feel about them helping? And Cassidy said, losers link up with the losers. And Cassidy really came back and wanted to know what was happening, how she got her name written down. And so she thought Ryan was like, I'll take one for the team and I'll talk with her. But then Gio stepped up and Gio was like, well, it was me. And it's interesting to see how comfortable Gio is in these moments of talking to Cassidy, where I feel like Gio, in his mind, is in a position of power. The votes kind of sort of went his way last week. And I love my baby boy Gio, but I was like, watching this made me a little uncomfortable, just in the sense of I felt like because Gio feels as though he is in a power position and that Cassidy's at the bottom, he's not really giving a lot of what's the word that I want to use? Like, he's not shy about letting her know where he
Yeah.
believes that she is at. From his
He's
perspective,
not using a lot of tact.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I understand it, but at the same time, it's like, Gio, like, what are you doing? Like, even if you're not with her, like,
Mhm.
oh, Gio.
And then it was funny when he asked her, he was like, "Well, did you vote for me?" He's like,
Right.
"No, I voted for Lindsay." Like, did Lindsay vote for herself? Like, I love Cassidy's sass to Gio. But yeah, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate you hopping in and making sure we start right at the top. But yeah, definitely some fallout, and as you said, we clearly see that Gio and Ryan kind of think they're at the top. Cassidy sort of thinks they're at the top, but I think Cassidy's approaching it with a lot more finesse than Gio and Ryan are.
Right. And in the sense that Cassidy is talking to everyone. Like, I feel like from at least from what we see, Gio's really only talking to Ryan. So I
Mhm.
definitely feel as though Cassidy has positioned herself really well with this tribe. And I feel like it is a common thread throughout this episode as to when we see the different tribes. In my opinion, it's that person that can kind of like lie in the middle. And when we get to some of the other tribes, I definitely have some winner pick changes, or just some people that I might have been a little harsher on that I actually am thinking to myself, like, maybe I need to like put on some different glasses and
Whoa.
see them in a different light, because I'm trying to evolve my way of thinking. But all right, go ahead, baby. Go on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then we bounce over to the Baka tribe. They haven't been a tribal since the first tribal, but we see that no one has found an advantage yet within this group, at least aside from Gabler's initial idol. But we see Ellie and Janine split off, and they Janine sees this like suspicious looking tree and goes and checks it out. And lo and behold, there's a beware advantage covered in ants wedged in between the tree. And so she fishes it out and decides to open it up. Um, and it's the same beware advantage that we've seen found on the other beaches. And um, she's reading it, and as they're debating whether to tell Owen or not, the camera pans to the back, and Owen comes in as they're talking about it and catches them red-handed, and so they end up telling Owen about it. And Owen, I think, makes a really good move, a sign of good faith, and immediately says, like, "Here, you can have all my beads. Like, I hope this is a sign of trust." Which I think is smart, because no matter what Owen thinks about it, he can give the beads, and then if he doesn't want her to get the idol, he could always go to someone else and say, "Don't give her your beads," and then that he's really just continuing to do a pretty good job of playing the middle as we've seen him so far. But what did you think about this whole scene and Janine finding the advantage?
Well, I loved it that, Owen just happened to be Owen was a little parched and he was going to top off his canteen and kind of sort of stumbled upon Janine and Ellie. And again, like Ellie is my girl. I love her. I've enjoyed watching her thus far, but it is interesting because I feel like in these moments, it's like, again, I wouldn't say sloppy gameplay, because it's like, you're opening your idol, but like, in Survivor, I'm gonna open it, read it, and move on. Like, it seemed that they were like relishing
Yeah.
a little bit, and like literally, like she was like, we're not going to tell Owen. And then they were going through the things as to like, they trust Sammy. They clearly don't want to bang with Gabler. And Owen was a little wishy-washy for them. So they weren't sure as to whether or not they wanted to bring him in. And then when Owen arrived, I felt like he did a great job of being like, I see you. What is that? And so
Yeah.
they, had to tell him. But again, I think that Owen really kind of surprised me here in the sense that we know that Owen is a gamer. We know he loves the game of Survivor. And Owen is like, well, listen, I'm with Sammy and Gabler right now. And they're asking for my bead. And as a sign of good faith, I'm going to give my bead because like I just want to align myself with I want to be the decision vote. I want to go with whatever I think is like more comfortable. And I think that that is a great decision on the curmudgeon that is Owen, that's thirsty, that just wanted to like, wet
The
his
thirsty
whistle.
curmudgeon.
A thirsty curmudgeon that is Owen. And so I just think that it was a great decision on his part
Yep.
to kind of like give him the beats. Now, I probably would have to say, given I try to put myself in that position, and I don't know if I would have given my beads up so easily, only in the sense that I feel like my spidey senses would have went up when I pulled up on them and they were being shady. Like I feel like I don't think I would have said anything to anyone else just yet, but I don't think that I would have committed my beads so quickly.
Very fair. And I think, well, we see what happens where then Ellie goes on a walk with Sammy. And as we've talked about, Ellie's a good player, but just doesn't know how to keep things secret. And so she tells Sammy right away that Janine has found this and that she's going to need the beads. And then now at this point, 4 out of 5 tribe members know when Janine needs to go collect the beads, and she's able to convince Gabler. And then Sammy tells Gabler about it, all of it after. But I think it's like, I think in the moment it's like, oh, it's just beads, like it's just an idol, whatever. But I feel like if I'm in Sammy's shoes, especially where I really want to work with the men, I'd really give a really strong effort to go just even whisper to Gabler before it happens. Like Gabler, do not give her your beads because then the blame's not really on you, it's on Gabler, and then B, the person you potentially want out just loses her vote and doesn't have an idol. So it's like if you're Sammy, I think the losing the vote part's really important too, because if you're Sammy and you're worried about Owen at all, if Janine loses her vote, then you know that you and Gabler have at least half of the numbers. Um, and then obviously her getting an idol on top of that just makes it even worse.
Yeah, I think one of the people that I had to put my reading glasses on was for Sammy. I think that again, Sammy bothers me with this whole like they can't know I'm 19, but I'm 22 and like cuz me, in my opinion, that's not much of an
Okay.
age difference. However, what I will say is I respect the hell out of Sammy because one, first of all, it was so awkward for me watching Sammy and Ellie being so overly excited, telling Sammy, like thinking that she's telling a good alliance member. And
Yeah,
here's Sammy like, I have to pretend to be happy. And
definitely.
and then, he goes and tells Gabler, and because like, Gabler just we don't know what Gabler not playing the game. Gabler just laying down, just cooling out. Like he's not like what a Gabler body shutting down. Gabler like I just got to rest. I can't like and so
Mhm.
Sammy does not because I while we were at the watch party, I was talking to some Survivor fans and I was saying like, why doesn't Sammy just blow it up right now? Like, or just like at least, and the Survivor, like they were telling me, like, well, it's actually pretty smart of Sammy because again, he's aligning himself right in the middle of the situation. And when he went and told Gabler that, and now it's like, now Gabler knows and no one else knows. And so it's like really just seeing how hard Sammy is going, it really makes me respect his game
Yeah,
a lot. However, I do feel like I don't know if I see winner from Sammy just because I do feel like he is doing so much double crossing or not even double crossing. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it's going to soon illuminate to others how well Sammy is in the know of his tribe.
yeah, definitely. But no, I know exactly what you're saying. I don't know if I see winner from him yet, but I think he's a very solid player,
Oh,
especially
yes.
the fact that he wants to target Ellie, but really has Ellie believing that they're good allies, I think is a testament to how he's playing the game. And he's probably personally my favorite to root for right now. But I'm interested to see how he navigates the merge. I definitely get some sort of like Michael Yerger vibes in a way from
Right.
him, where they're both playing really well, and then they get to the merge and things might get a little more complicated. So I'm excited to see what happens. And it's kind of a shame we didn't get to see Baka go to, because as we see in the trailer for the next episode, there's going to be a merge, and it's kind of a shame we didn't get to see Baka go back to another tribal, because I think with all of these advantages and all these different dynamics, it would have been a really interesting pre-merge tribal council.
Now I have a question. If they make the merge, is Gabler's idol now null and void?
I think he might get it for one more.
Like one more vote at like when we merge, because that's the vote that like he
Mhm.
participates in that tribal council.
But
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not certain. But it would be kind of funny if Gabler's just chilling the marriage
Right.
episode. Um, but then yeah, we bounce
But no, all
over.
right, now let me ask you a question. Um, it seems that a lot of people, like I guess we hear Janine and this telling their reasons as to who they kind of sort of work with, and basically they essentially say that Gabler is a bit cranky around camp. They say that Owen is kind of sort of paranoid. If you were Sammy,
Uh-huh.
would you, like, given the information that we know as viewers, do you think that you would be more comfortable to align with Gabler or more comfortable to align with Owen? Because in my perspective, I feel like, and maybe it's just me, I feel like I would definitely like want to lock it in with Owen as well. But it doesn't
Mhm.
seem that like no one has locked it in with Owen. And so it really kind of leaves Owen, in my opinion, on this tribe, the most free agent.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think we've seen bits and pieces of them having a solid relationship. Like, I do think if they went to tribal, that it would be sort of the three guys together trying to make something happen. But Owen's definitely done a good job of keeping himself in a decent spot in the middle. But at the same time, so is Sammy. It feels like everyone on the
Well,
tribe kind of trusts
true.
Sammy. So um, it's definitely a very interesting group. And I think there's also something to be said that if I was in Sammy's position, I think working with Gabler and Owen might be the better move in the pre-merge. But also, I think if you somehow get to the merge with Ellie and Janine, they're going to be seen as such a tight duo that if someone decides to target Baka and you're a big threat like Sam, like just a big guy like Sammy, who's also a good strategist, that having that as a sort of shield might actually be helpful. Whereas if you go with Gabler, you're obviously going to be the bigger target there, and so maybe he's a better ally due to his loyalty, but it might not be the guy you want to be sitting with throughout the merge.
Well, right. And it's like you want an active player as well. You don't want someone that's kind of like all of this is going on around camp and like you know nothing about. I
Yeah.
do think that like, I'm huge team Ellie. And I think that if Ellie and Janine can make it to the merge, I really do feel like this season we will see a girl all female alliance in the sense that we've seen three females go home very early. So I would
4, I think,
for
actually, yeah.
was it has it
Mariah,
Mariah, Lindsay,
Janine, Lindsay, and
not Janine, it was
Mecca. Oh,
uh
sorry,
uh
Justine.
Justine. Okay, right. So I would definitely think that like if Ellie and Janine can get with the other females, I definitely think there would be a concerted effort to like let's try to lock it in, which I feel like could be detrimental to Sammy or not, because I mean Ellie still really trusts Sammy. So I mean, either way, I'm excited to see how this dynamic of this group
Yeah,
will pan out with the merge.
yeah, and I think for the remaining women, it's almost in a good way, a good thing that a lot of women have gone so far, because I feel like there's sort of a natural equilibrium post-merge where, we've never seen a Survivor season where it's just like 9 the final 9 is like all guys, so if you're one of the final remaining women, I feel like in a way there's that sort of natural gender balance that has to happen, where it can give you a little bit of extra safety, and there's a lot of big guys out there that need to be targeted. It kinda reminds me of, like, I think it was Millennials versus Gen X where they merged at 13, and I think there was 4 women left, and all of them made it pretty far. Um, but yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. But
Uh,
yeah.
Agreed.
But then we head over to the immunity challenge, kicking it off early, um, where the tribes have to go through this um, branch sort of obstacle, and transfer buckets of water over a teeter-totter in order to open a gate. Yeah, teeter-totter.
Is that the right name for it though? A teeter tot? Like I would think a seesaw, a
Yeah,
netted
seesaw.
seesaw.
Well, I think it's like both. It's like both.
I
Because I
think a
think
netted
people call us.
seesaw sounds more sophisticated. Hearing Jeff say a teeter totter, I don't know. It's just like, should we get the Brictionary out?
I'm team teeter-totter, but because I think a seesaw, it's sort of like
A
has the
netted
no.
seesaw.
I was thinking sort of has like the implication that like people are sort of sitting on both sides and like counterbalancing, whereas a teeter-totter it teeters and then it totters,
Totter.
and then that's all there is really to it. But over the teeter-totter, and then they use those buckets of water in order to open up a gate, and then where they get 3 balls and they have to roll them up a ramp. And I thought that the ramp mechanism was interesting because there wasn't any sort of divots that they had to land it in. They just had to get it up, and then it went down a little bit, and they had to get it to rest right in that platform without it falling off the back or coming back up the front.
Yeah, and I have to say, these last 2 challenges, I have absolutely loved these challenges. I feel like they're a play on old challenges mixed with new aspects to it, and I definitely think it's just like they're just such great equalizers, like to be
Mhm.
roped together to go through this like wooden maze, then the teeter totter, and then to get up there and do the ball thing. It really was just like I thought this challenge was like great, and I felt like um it could be in everyone's wheelhouse.
Mhm.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it just to see them like connected together and going through it. But again, I just have to say during the challenge, I just be minding my business. And I always feel like the what in the hell is James Jones doing? So if you watch if you watch the episode, they're netted together. And it seemed like when they got out of the jungle, James Jones like like does this roll flip. And I was just like, how do you do a roll flip when you are connected to Cassidy?
James finds a way. Yeah.
Like
I
I
like how
watched
you always notice the James Jones moments.
Yeah, because he's flipping out of it. Like, how do you flip out of it and doesn't pull Cassidy out? Like, I just was like, what is going on?
It's a good question.
I'm like,
And it was
what?
funny. I was talking to him last night.
Huh?
What?
And your head?
Yeah. Yeah. And no, via I was messaging with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was messaging with him, and he said it was he's like, the pre-merge challenges, I was beasting all of them. Now, he's done a good job, but it's funny that we always have a James Jones moment where he's like 20 feet behind or like
Right.
hanging upside down.
He's stuck in a net.
Yeah. He's tottering when he's supposed to be teetering.
He's on the saw, but it's C.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, we see the so we get to the end of the challenge where they got to roll the balls up. Vezi wins. They there's a point I think where they're all tied 2-2, and I think Dwight lands the winning shot for Vezi,
Okay.
your twin,
My twin.
and then Ryan it appears to accidentally knock all of the balls off, but after the fact, he said that he intentionally threw the challenge. We can get more to that after we wrap up the challenge, but then we see Sammy hit the game winner for Baka to secure second place, and it's funny. This was the first time. You've obviously talked so much about the whole 1922 thing. He hit him after they won. He hit him with the
The
I ain't been to
Chuck
Chuck E.
E.
Cheese that
Cheese.
much. And I said maybe now people are gonna know that he's 19 instead of 22.
I mean, it's something a
A
19 to a
22 would
20.
say a 22-year-old would say Dave and Buster's.
Oh, I
That's a
thought maybe
giveaway.
they would say, well, do you know what do you remember Discovery Zone, Jack?
No, what's that?
Okay. So it's kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese, and maybe it's like regional to like the West Coast, but it kind of was like Chuck E. Cheese, but it was like Discovery Zone. They had like a ball pin,
Ooh,
maze, and they would like
ooh,
sell pizza, but it was like the Discovery
yeah.
Zone. And random story, when I was like in because I was on a school bus. So I want to say I was in like 3rd, 4th grade. It was like maybe my birthday landed on a Saturday, and it was like the Friday before my birthday. And I remember I was like so excited because my mom was taking me and my brothers to Discovery Zone. They had just opened up
Hey.
one up, and I got like so excited thinking about it that like I broke out in hives at school. Like I literally like a redness was all over my
Oh
face
my
and my
god.
body, and
Are you sure you didn't have allergies?
no, like I literally was just so excited because that's I was like, I'm going to Chuck E. Cheese tomorrow. Going to Chuck E. Cheese. Like I literally
Discovery
like
Zone, right?
Discovery
Yeah.
Zone. Discovery Zone. But I broke out with hives just being so excited
Wow.
to go to Discovery
That
Zone.
sounds like an amazing time. Quick question. Do you know what I saw this the other day randomly. Do you know what Chuck E. Cheese stands for? It's that's like that's like his nickname.
Kerchuckamus.
No,
Ernest.
it's Charles Entertainment Cheese.
What?
Yeah, that's what Chuck E. Cheese stands for.
I feel like that sounds even more creepier than Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
It sounds like an adult, an adult
Entertainment Emporium.
entertainment video empire. Like, yeah.
Anyways, good thing Sammy hasn't been there that much.
Maybe that's the 22-year-old Sammy knows about
Yeah.
Charles Entertainment. What is it? Cheese?
Cheese.
Like cheese. Like where does the cheese come in after Charles Entertainment cheese?
It's just the 3 things they have. They just got
He's got
uh,
Charles. Yeah.
you got Charles.
Okay.
You obviously got entertainment.
He likes to entertain, and his mom growing up used to make cheese boards.
Yeah.
He was
Well,
like,
it's on their pizza.
oh, I
Have
mean,
you seen the controversy that the pizza they like have you heard about this?
do
With the
tell.
Chuck E. Cheese pizza? There was a controversy where it was suspected that they would take leftover pizza slices from other pizzas they served and then combine them all into a new pizza. And so all the pieces would be like different, like weird sizes, and the pepperonis like wouldn't be like connecting. You should Google it. It's pretty crazy.
I don't know if Charles Entertainment.
Yeah. Charles Entertainment, he had to go to court for that one. Yeah.
Did they lose or win?
I don't know. Charles knows some people.
He's like,
Um,
it's an entertainment business. You don't need all the pizza slices. to
Mr.
look
Cheese,
the
put
same."
your hands up. You have the right to remain silent.
It's just for entertainment purposes. The cheese is just added. Oh, I'm dead.
um, and so also, but what do you think about Ryan saying after the challenge that he decided to throw it?
Like now, listen. I likes me some Ryan. Okay, I
Mhm.
do. I really do. But Ryan, like, why? Like, why? Like, why? And again, I can understand there are some points in times like I can understand if it were last week, right? And the Coco tribe has not seen tribal at
Yep.
all. And sometimes it's like, you know what? Let's go to tribal one so we could, flex our
Get the
muscles,
feet wet.
get
Yeah.
our feet wet. And two, it's like, let's kill some dead weight. But like, I don't know. And maybe we're not seeing it all, but from what we have seen from episode 1 and episode 5, Gio and Ryan are in the minority of the group. Like we
Mhm.
don't see them really interacting with too many other people but them. We see Cassidy, we see Carla, we see James, and we saw Lindsay all like, really kind of like talking it up, seesawing it, teeter-totting. And so, like, for me, it is just like, I don't know. I guess it really can. This is the thing about Survivor that I think can mess a lot of players up. Where again, I'm just looking at it from a viewer perspective, is that we clearly see Gio and Ryan at the bottom. However, due to how the cookie crumbled last week, the votes kind of sort of went in their favor. Although
Mhm.
we see why.
Yeah. They thought that it was because of their plan.
Right. And
Yeah.
it really has somewhat inflated their ego a little bit. That is really their detriment in the game. And it's like, I guess like a lesson learned is that, like, again, I would say, as somebody that hasn't really played, but played, if you're on the like, I don't know, I just like, it's just like take each vote by each vote. And like, no matter if you think you're in the power position, no matter if you feel like you're at the bottom, the one thing that I have learned from being a commentator and like talking so closely with you and Wendell and other Survivor players is that like always keep the conversation going.
Mhm.
And at times it is very important to steer the narrative, but I find it more to be in the back seat or the passenger giving the directions and allowing someone
Yeah,
else to drive.
exactly, exactly. And that's exactly what we've seen Carla and James doing by letting Gio and Ryan push their ideas when it lines up with what they want to do.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, like this episode, making the moves that they deem necessary. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought
And I didn't really think he threw the challenge.
I think he did, but it's definitely possible that it's some sort of cover up. But yeah, Gio and Ryan are a weird duo, and I just feel like unless you know for a fact, but it's like even if you think Cassie's going home, as far as you know, Cassidy's probably voting one of you guys out. So it's like
Right.
why put the ball in Carla and James's court and let them make that decision? You know what I mean? Like the only time I'd ever want to lose a challenge. I agree with what you said about, you got to get your feet wet before, like, you don't want to go to the merge and never have been a tribal council because
Right.
you're not going to be experienced with it. Also, if your tribe has never been a tribal, that might put a target on your guys' back. But at this point, the numbers are pretty much even. Like Coco and Baka have the same amount. Vezi has one fewer member. It's like why I don't really understand the risk. Like it's not
And
that
you and
big of a
Gio
deal.
don't have an idol. Like you don't know what these other people have been doing. Yeah, it seems like and again, if he were to be in the control, okay, I get it, but it's like again, as us as viewers, it's like Ryan, you not like you're creating unnecessary issues for you.
Yeah,
Instead of just kind of like letting the game, you're definitely like kind of getting your hands in it. And I
yeah,
understand it. Y'all been very comfortable this whole time, and now it's like, y'all clearly know the merge must be coming, and so it's like let's get rid of somebody that we don't trust. But
yeah.
again, it's just like
Yeah, and it's obviously hard to know when you're actually in control and when you're not. Like, of course, they think they're in control, but at the end of the day, no matter how confident they are, they should know that Cassidy is probably not siding with them. So why allow Carla? Why have to put your trust in James and Carla to go through with the plan? Like they're not in the
right.
middle here, and so it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Um,
And at the very least, she's the swing vote, and you never know which way the the
exactly,
the
exactly,
teeter is going to tide.
exactly. Um, and so when the challenge ends, Vezi gets to pick people for a journey. So they send Gio, they send Janine, and then they pick Jesse from their own group. And they get dropped off at this dock, and they have to hop in a paddle boat and paddle across the water to this sort of little sandbar where they're gonna do their uh, advantage sort of shenanigans. Those waves were kind of intense though.
Uh, they definitely were. It seemed like people had issues getting off the boat because
Yeah,
Gio definitely took a little L.
Jesse fell too. Yeah,
Jesse fell too. And here we see another like reenactment of Noel from previous seasons where Gio is basically laying it on thick that he's at the bottom. He really needs this. And, he wants to risk his vote. But I think the thing that I enjoyed the most about this was that, like, Janine and Jesse were like, okay, well, we're not just going to give it to you. Like, I don't know. Like, what was your thoughts on
yeah.
all of them risking it? Like, I felt like,
It was very interesting. I thought, yeah, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about it. I do think Janine and Jesse are both in positions where their vote is important. Now, coming off a challenge win, you're not going to have to go to tribal right then. Also, that once Coco goes, there's going to be 13 left. Presumably, you're going to merge either around 13 or 12. So I think that is fair to have the thought process of, hey, even if I
if I
lose my
don't,
vote, that might not occur until the merge. In which case, the one vote might not be that big of a deal. So I like that thought process as well. Obviously, if they go to another tribal though, like Jesse not having a vote on his tribe could be a big impact.
That could definitely be the vote to send Jesse home.
Exactly. And so now if Noel still stole his vote, that would be kind of funny because he doesn't have one. But
Right.
I actually wonder how that would play out. But anyways, I do, and so you think about obviously losing the vote for one tribal, especially if you think it's gonna be a post-merge tribal right away, you would definitely take a 50-50 shot at like an actual advantage versus that, right? So I think Jesse and Janine, you both come across as very smart players. And so for me, they probably figured that um by Gio saying so openly that he was gonna take it, that like if I'm Jesse and Gio's saying that, I might think, okay, Janine's probably less likely to risk her vote, knowing that he's trying to get it. And so maybe that would incentivize me to also risk my vote. And then if Janine and Jesse both thought that way, then that's probably what led to all of them risking their vote. Now, obviously, 33% is a low chance, but like I said, if there's a valid advantage that you can gain, like a 1 in 3 chance for your of risking it in a to get a knowledge. If it's the knowledge is power, like I'd risk probably 1 in 3 for a knowledge is power
See,
versus like just one vote, which is probably going to be after the merge. Like the
but I
final
feel
13 at the merge, like is your vote that important? Like it could be, but
yeah, but I also feel like sometimes knowledge of power can be somewhat of a tricky advantage if given you are at like I love my baby boy Gio, but like, like if you at the bottom and like you don't really know much about what's going on, like I don't know, I'm just not risking it. But
mhm.
I just also feel like when you go to these summits, sometimes it's better to be like Roxroy, because like what was the point of Gio doing all of that like talking? And essentially everybody was like, I'm still gonna risk it. So you might as well go in there like Roxroy.
Well, I
Like,
mean,
I ain't
I
saying
think
nothing.
we saw how the talking worked in like Noelle's case when she went and got the advantage because she made inroads with the other players. And I don't know. I just think Gio's social game is kind of lacking. Like I think you should go in and tell people that you're going to risk it, but I think he really played it up as like, oh, I'm in trouble, I'm going to risk it. Whereas
But
like I felt
it's
like Noelle was like, hey guys, like I really need this. I promise you, if we have the opportunity to work together, like I want to work with you guys and
gotcha.
play it more
Okay.
like that. Whereas if you're just like, oh, I'm in trouble, I'm going to risk it. It's like, unless you're offering me something, why do I care? I don't
Right.
care. Like you could go home. It doesn't matter to me. Like so I think Gio should have really tried to make some solid relationships, and then at the end talk about how he needs it and say like, if you guys could help me out, like I promise you, I'll have your back. Give the players something to gain. Don't just try to like
Right.
pull up a pity, get pity.
I, I can see that. I don't think I was looking at it like that, but that I definitely can see a difference in that. So I
Yeah.
respect that.
But I know what you mean. Like sometimes it's not. You just have to. Yeah, you have to give the other players a reason to let you have it.
Right.
Just them thinking you're endangered isn't really a very good reason. Like,
Right. It's like, okay, that could help my game.
yeah, and I do think advertising that you're going to risk it is generally a good thing because it tells the other players your odds are definitely going to be lower. But
Right.
like I said, if you're a strategic player who's willing to take some risks, like a 50-50 or even a one third shot at something could really help your game could still be worth it at the end of the day. So I don't know. I think these journeys, I always and like they're always solid, but I just feel like 5 episodes in, it's like we know what we're getting each time. It's like now they know when they go back to camp, they just show everyone their no, and it's sort of the same thing with yeah, with that, it's also sort of the same thing with like the beware beads advantage. Like we see it for the third time. Like it's
But I
just kind
mean,
of getting
you
a
don't
little.
well, I think the beads are a little different in the sense that you won't know about the beads until the merge. But I
I'm
feel
just
like
saying watch as a viewer. It's
oh,
like
as a
the
viewer, yeah,
third
yeah,
time watching it, like nothing
but
has really
no, so I
changed.
disagree because I feel like this is my same take on 41 and 42 was that like I love to see different variables of the same thing. Like, I don't know, for me, I think that that
Yeah.
is like what is so spicy about Survivor is that, like, listen, we'll give you the same thing and let's see what type of options that you can come up with. And another thing about these end roads, and me personally, um, it wouldn't necessarily be so much for getting the knowledge is power reward, as I really want to see if any of these relationships that these people build, like, it seems like I remember last season, they were in 41 and 42 when they would have to take these walks. They seemed to be more concerned about the relationships that the people could potentially be building. And on this season, maybe they're just not showing it, but that doesn't seem to even be a thing. They just
Yeah.
want to know what you got. And so I feel like I definitely would not risk my vote. And I probably would be a person to say, like, hey, like, I'm not going to risk my vote in the sense that you saying that you're going to risk your vote, but in hopes that, like, if we make the merge together, that we can share some information or have an alliance that
Yeah.
could be mutually beneficial. And I think that,
Definitely.
in my opinion, that's just as good as knowledge is power, because it's like that's guaranteeing you knowledge with someone else.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. But to your point, I think that's why I think these journeys are a little played out because everyone knows there's going to be some sort of advantage to be had. And so instead of just making relationships, it's like strategizing about the advantage the whole time. And then everyone back at camp knows that there's an advantage. So even if you get something, it's like, how do you, like, you can't, everyone's going to kind of know you have something and it just kind of ruins. I don't know. It feels a little played out in my opinion. I always love a good like discussing it. I'm actually taking a class on like behavioral economics right now,
Oh,
which it's a prospect. We're learning about prospect theory, which is
okay.
basically about like how people weigh their like decisions that are risky. So it's I was actually doing homework for that right before this, and so I
Oh,
don't not try to get too nerdy, but it is
come on,
interesting.
let's go
It
there.
is it is interesting to think about like with these journeys, like what factors influence whether someone wants to risk their vote or not risk their vote, and like what kind of rewards um incentivize that. And I think I like seeing that part of it play out, but it's like now we've seen it play out 12, 15 times in the last year, and it's like nothing's really changing and everyone knows what to expect. I like to see. I know exactly what you mean by like seeing the different iterations of the same thing happen and seeing how they play out. But at this point, I think I've seen enough of it where I'm like, I want something. I want something
Okay.
spicy and new. Um, but yeah, so we see Gio gets the advantage. The other Jesse and Janine open up their reward in front of everyone to show that they didn't get anything. Um, which is, like I said, sort of the common move nowadays because everyone knows that you might have something. And Geo gets the knowledge is power advantage. Unfortunately, doesn't really seem like it's gonna be a big factor here because
And this was also something that, again, I feel like because we have not seen a lot from Coco, and which I feel two ways about it. One, I do love the editing style of the new Age of Survivor, where they leave a lot off, not just because they have so much footage, but I do feel like they purposely leave out a lot of information or purposely leave out like relationships, because I feel like it makes it more interesting for us to guess how people will vote, and especially as we're going into a merge. But I just, as a viewer, thought it was so weird that Gio would reveal this to Carla, because we
yeah,
have not seen much of any interaction with them. And all we have seen is him and Ryan. So for me, it was just like, on one point, it's like, Gio, why are you sharing this with Carla? Um, but two, it's like, I feel like, and again, this is my girl Carla. So it's like maybe Carla, maybe Gio and Carla they clearly have some type of relationship that he is wanting to like break bread with her and share information.
yeah,
Or is it like, after the vote out last week, is he feeling like things are in my way? Let me expand my empire to Carla. But I just thought it was like interesting. So I would just felt like, again, because we haven't seen much of Coco, because Coco hasn't really been on the chopping block, but these last two episodes and the other 3.5 episodes were really on the other two tribes. But
yeah, yep. No, I think this sort of shows us why Gio and Ryan are so confident in a way is that they think they're very close with Carla and James to the point that they're sharing this advantage with Carla. And so in hindsight, it's easy to say like that was stupid, but I'm sure that he thought they were quite close.
But
And I
I mean,
remember, I think in the first episode that they connected over being like
LGBT,
LGBTQ Latino.
right?
Um,
But even with that, I would say I'm not sharing this, but
oh,
nobody with but
agreed.
Ryan.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Because we see Carla out here playing and she ain't share that idol with no one. But I also felt like, although I was sad that Lindsay left last episode, just because I felt like Lindsay's energy was just like upfront, direct, like, like y'all not voting for me. Y'all should be trying to put targets on me because I'm the baddest in, like, you know what I mean? I also felt like Lindsay's spirit reemerged because
yeah,
when Carla found out, and again, if I were Carla, and maybe this is why I don't make it this far in Kagion, is that I would pursue a more tighter relationship with Gio, knowing this information. For me, this would have been a reason to want to keep Gio. However, Carla got the Lindsay spirit and was like, oh, this is a great thing. But wait, it's a great thing because the knowledge is power, because I got the idol. What if he thinks I got the idol? Who got the idol? I was like, oh my God,
yeah.
what in the Lindsay Carla is happening?
No, that's true. I didn't even think about it from that angle where Carla has an idol. So the fact that he has that is like extra impactful. But I know what you mean, where I think a lot of times we see someone comes to somebody with information or a secret or something, and a lot of times that person's first response will be like, "Oh, they have an advantage. I need to get them out." Where it's like, no, they're coming to you. That shows that they trust you. They wouldn't be doing that if they didn't trust you. Now, I do think in this instance, Carla has such a solid relationship with Cassidy and James, from what we can see, that she's really got a hand in every pot on her tribe. So now it's like, oh, if he has that advantage and I already wasn't really sure about him, sure, he's showing me some trust, but at the same time, like, that's sort of all the more reason for her to get him out when she knows she could trust other people.
True, but I think the thing that I have learned the most in Survivor News with you and Wendeezy is that knowledge truly is power in the game of Survivor. And so I don't know. I just feel like I, of course, would have had that like Lindsay moment and been like, oh my God, he could target me. But honestly, I feel like Carla has been doing a great job of like, no one knows she has the idol.
Yeah.
So, like, again, in
But
my opinion, she's she's the biggest threat of all. So I get why she would do that. But eh, in my opinion, I feel like we still get rid of Ryan. We make it to the merge. And if Gio
oh, you're
becomes
saying get
problem,
rid of Ryan
yeah,
instead
get
of
rid of
Gio.
Ryan, keep Gio. And then again, in my opinion, that's even more of a shield because let Gio start popping off, or like, or I need to save you, Jack, and I need to get rid of Gio. I now have this knowledge, and I can say, well, listen, he has the knowledge as power idol.
True. No, that's actually when I thought you meant that she should instead sort of turn on like Cassidy, but
Oh
when it's
no.
coming down to the Ryan versus Gio debate, I think that actually is a very solid point. Um, yeah, no, there's so many ways to look at it. Like, there's obviously pros and cons, but
Right.
when someone's showing you that level of trust, now I don't know what Carla's relationship with is like with Ryan necessarily, but I would guess Carla has a stronger relationship with Gio, especially after he shares this information. That is certainly something to consider. But Carla's in
Yeah.
such a good spot that there's almost like no wrong
There's no
answer.
wrong way.
Yeah,
Right, right. But again, there is no wrong way. But I
I
look
know what
at
you mean, though. I know what you
as
mean.
more of an advantage for you. However, let's just talk about Ryan for a second. I love
Yeah,
Ryan. I really do. Bless his good old heart. Okay. But
yeah,
one thing I know in Survivor is that, first of all,
yeah. He was.
never let your you see people flip out when they like, listen, we gonna vote Wendell out, Jack. However, we gonna say you the decoy. Time and time and time and time again. That even me proposing that to you, like, say, listen, Survivor News Alliance, we're gonna keep Wendell on spring break. But I'm gonna tell Wendell, Jack, that you going on spring break. Like, even
Yeah,
that in itself in Survivor, the person in your position flips out and then wants to target me for even suggesting it. So it's like, Ryan, what are you doing? Like, Why would you ever? I just it just like
Well, he
and
went a different direction in that he basically told them to target to
himself,
tell,
which is like
which makes yeah.
it's basically telling me now, mind you, I'm trying to like keep it cool because I like Ryan and I get where he was coming from, and I did think it was
Meh.
quite fun. Well, I just thought it was quite
No, I know.
funny how hard he was selling it.
I
Like,
know.
listen, Jack, I messed up, but I want you,
Yeah.
who the person that I'm in the closest alliance with, put a name down for you, but I want you to have the best shot that you can have out here on Survivor because it means the world to me for you, Jack. To have the like baby boy, like give
Give him an Oscar for that one.
is it Emmy season? Is it Oscar? Because he was when he was out there, Cassidy was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like, normally when I'm frustrated, Cass, I go to the gym and pump iron. Right? Because I'm out here. Gotta take it out on this tree. Why are you frustrated? And then Ryan's like, I'm so glad you asked. They're targeting me. And like, you know what I mean? Like baby boy,
I
like
know. He was
baby
not a very smooth not a very smooth criminal. And
it,
it's he and Gio, it's just so weird because neither of them are very good at the game.
but
And for some reason they think that they're
they think
crushing
that
it.
like
And
that's the best part. It's literally like, and again, I love Gio and I love Ryan. So this
I
is no
like them
shade to
both
them.
too, yeah.
But it literally was like watching a Hallmark Christmas movie. Like, you know, it's like you just enjoy, like, I love the fact that they are so committed. Ryan, the most.
I
Ryan was
know.
beating up a tree. What the tree got to do with it, Ryan? You just chopping down the tree. The tree, like, what I do?
Yeah, it was definitely just a mess. Like I don't yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. Like they were
I,
so confident. I'm like,
and I felt like, honestly, if that was the road to take, because I also feel like there's messaging in non-communication. So I just feel like, okay, talk to talk to Cassidy, but don't talk game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like like,
mhm.
I don't know. Like, there's other ways to show that you're the target. But again, no Survivor player, when you're this close to the merge,
Is gonna be like, hey, let me
just
just
get
give
rid of
you a
me. Like,
shot.
I'm going
Yeah.
home. Like, it's just like, and
Makes no sense. Yeah.
it makes no sense. And it's like, that has not been now, if it were Gabler, I
Maybe.
I might have believed it. Like, you know, because like I feel like Gabler has a story like my
Yeah.
body's not working. It's my body's giving out on me. Like, you know, like, but I just felt like Ryan, like you're the like you're the physical one in this in your tribe. And the fact that like you don't even see that, like, I don't know, it's just it was I felt bad, but it was like so entertaining to watch in the sense that like I appreciated him at least giving his all to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't even know how to describe it. Like it even like it just didn't make any sense. Like even if he was in the right part, even if he was in the numbers, like that angle doesn't make sense. Like why would you say like he I feel like he thought it was like mastermind. But say you and I were in an alliance together and I wanted out and I wanted Wendell out and I wouldn't want to be like, Brice, go tell him it's me. Like and then he thinks it's me and I vote him out. It's not genius. It's just like you could just let him think whoever.
Right. Or
And then if you vote him out, it's the same thing. Like, why are you feeding him your own name? That doesn't make any sense.
I felt like it would have been way more realistic if he were to say Geo.
I agree. Agree.
Like he's not cutting it, like, you know, he's not like, you know, but again, I also feel like, and this is where I have to give the unspoken credit because we don't see it, but for somebody that has played 9 to 11 days, I feel like to see this level of confidence, right? The real MVP and the real award should probably go to James and Carla
Mhm.
for like making them feel that comfortable. Like
Definitely.
that is like,
Even Cassidy played her role really
oh
well
no, no,
too. Like,
Cassidy was queening. I like again. First of all, I just love the Coco tribe. Like, there's like I just love them all. They're all great players, and it just is like it's the tribe that like not works together, but it's like they it's just great. But again, I just have to like from what I feel like I would understand, in order for a player to get that confident, you
you
just don't
have
get
to
it.
have a lot of
You have to have somebody making you feel comfortable. And we clearly know it's not Cassidy, just in the sense that like they're
they
gunning
don't
for
trust.
her.
Yeah,
So it has to be Carla and James. And again,
100%.
I feel like I'm giving another pick to Carla in the sense that like, oh, like we see you, but also like to James as well. We see James with the Lindsay vote last week, and it like took me by surprise. And we see how much Lindsay trusted James, and like, yeah, so dare I say, like, is Carla and James the dynamic duo? Like, I
Yeah,
feel like they're the most
I think they've been the
strong.
strongest duo that
Yeah.
we've seen so far in the game. Yeah, it's weird. I love the chaos, some of the chaos and some of the, like the misplays by people. It keeps it fresh, but there's definitely been some people in this pre-merge that have just been not the strongest Survivor players. Like on each tribe too, like people just making blunders that are costing them. But I guess how it goes.
Yeah. We make it to tribal, and Ryan is still out there. Like, and even Jeff is like,
Yeah,
like, I at one point thought Jeff was gonna be like, should we even vote?
yeah. If you put me on a tribe with Ryan and Gio, I think I'd be chilling.
Don't say that. But again, like, uh, I, I I just wonder in another realm if they really were in power, like, would this? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like,
That's why it's hard to imagine a world where they are in power. 'Cause
oh,
it's like
don't do
how
that.
no, I just it's like if one person on that tribe was like actually with them, they would have the numbers, and then this whole like the plan would work, but it would just be like, what are you doing? Like I don't how is this possible?
Right, don't do that. But yeah, but unfortunately, not really much at tribal. It's more like the camp life. And unfortunately, my baby boy Gio goes home, and he goes home with an advantage in his pocket. And I just love Gio. I think that he is an amazing player. And I'm like, an amazing person. And I think that his story was great. And honestly, like, whether or not I feel like, however people consider how Gio played, I think that from watching this show, and just knowing Gio's story, I feel like he still is a winner. I feel like, he has gained a whole Survivor family, even outside of this season. And so, you know, it's a game, and
Mhm.
he was baby boy was playing. So I can't be mad, because I just can't be mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh my question is, in a hypothetical world,
Mhm.
was there so I guess it's a two-part question. In a hypothetical world, is there any way that Geo, like, and again, all the information that we know is true now. Is there any way in a hypothetical world that he could have yielded his knowledge is power vote uh to help him stay? And
Yeah,
I probably would say no, because he doesn't know that Carla has the idol, right?
exactly.
And so I almost feel like Geo, because I almost feel like, because Geo did not play it safe, is partly the reason that he went home, because if he played it safe, did not get this advantage, they still would be targeting Ryan.
Maybe, yeah. I it's hard to. Well, I think the
Well,
bigger issue is that he shared it with Carla. You know
well,
what I
I
mean?
mean that, but again, he shared it with Carla, but I feel like that would have been inevitable because we see what he did. But again, like if he really got nothing, we see because the fact that he shared it with Carla is the reason that Carla was like, nope, you got to go because it targets me. And again, that's where like I feel like kind of sort of back to your point about like we know when they go on these walks, you get advantages and kind of sort of gets old. Like I really do think there is something to like, you know what? I'm going to be out here relationship building. So I'm going
Yeah.
to keep my vote and I'm going to allow you to get the whatever, whatever. And had Gio done that and like got nothing, got his vote and came back, shared that with the group, like, but then again, I also feel like who knows, maybe Carla would have gotten paranoid that he would have had something, but he could have read it
Yeah,
in front of
it's hard too because if you don't risk your vote, you still don't come back with anything to show. Like I
but you saw how
no
oh well, I
wow.
guess if you risk your vote, then you come back with the thing that says you lost your vote. But
Yeah.
oh, okay, so
But
if
if
you
you
don't
don't
risk
even risk it, like what do you like you just say, "Oh, I didn't risk it." Everyone just has to believe you in
then
a way.
okay,
I
so
don't I
I
don't
guess
know.
yeah, I guess it's still they still could have possibly believed it, but I still think their threat level would have been low and it still could have been Ryan.
It's possible. But I think that's more him sharing it with Carla than anything, but
Well, right.
I know exactly what you mean, and yeah, it's also kind of a shame for Gio that the advantage he did win was a knowledge power. Because say he wins a steal a vote, then at least he can maybe now I think he was so comfortable that they wouldn't even use it, but at least you have the ability to, like, save yourself, but
Right.
I don't know, I think it's just sort of a testament to the fact that
Here you
kno
go. You about to hate on
knowledge
this.
is
Oh, go ahead.
no, like you said, knowledge is power, and by sharing your knowledge with people, you're
You're
actually
giving up your
losing yeah, you're
power.
giving up some of that power because now you're more people have power, so you're just relatively lowering your own position in the game, and that's why I always think with the mindset when I'm doing survivor related sort of games or whatever, like, you could be my closest ally, but I don't wanna share info
Oh, we know.
until it's
We know.
actually until
We
it's
know.
actually until it's actually pertinent, like, what's the point of sharing the knowledge is power until you actually need to make a move with the knowledge is power? It
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
even
I
matter.
I disagree because I feel like if you have a close ally that you
Yeah.
trust, you should share and tell your moves with, because in the event that it's a last day for them to play an idol and you try to do some sneaky-ish and that person gonna play the idol and then you get idled out,
That could happen sometimes,
you know?
but that's
But
not about well, that wasn't a
no,
related
that
to
was like you
advantages.
did not tell me that you was voting
Yeah, well,
Ramona.
that was me making a move. That wasn't an
Well, I
advantage
mean,
related
but I
thing.
mean, in the game, if we Thelma and Louise, like you got to tell me these things because like you knew I had the idol.
Yeah. That's a
I mean,
different
but it's okay.
story. That's a
I
different
mean, it's
story. I'm
fine. I
just saying,
mean,
like, I think obviously maybe you have someone that unless you're like 100% want to go to the final 3 with someone though, just in general, I don't think because if you tell someone something, that either means eventually that you either have to go to the final like, the only way it's not gonna get out is if you go to the final 3 with them or you have to take them out, and you're now restricting your options to 2 things that are much more difficult than just not telling someone something.
right. But here's the thing, though, with the Ryan and Geo pair, I think that they would have been a great final two.
Yeah, which is fine why for them to share it between each other, but
Well,
then why
right. That's
share
what.
with
Right.
Carla?
That's where
Or why
That's
is
where.
Ellie sharing with Sammy or, like, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
right.
it's
Yeah,
just too much going on, like
I get it. I get it. But also, like I feel like, and I don't want to make excuses for Ellie because I like Ellie, but again, I also feel like when you get this close to the merge, I definitely think it is like, let's try to lock down the fort. So I
mhm.
do feel like in that essence, you are taking a risk by sharing, but like, let's lock down this fort. If
Yeah.
we can get this to final four, then we're impenetrable and like, let's
That's so
go.
challenging, though, but I know what you mean, where you're about to merge, you want your whole tribe to be on the same page, and
Right.
yeah, yeah.
but listen, I hope Ellie makes the merge. But anyway, this was a great episode, a great duo episode with the baby
Yep.
boy,
We got
Jack.
the merge next weekend
We
or
got
next
the
next episode.
next episode, yes. And so I'm excited to listen and hear how you and Wendell will do as your baby boy will be on spring break next week. So make sure
Where
you
are you
guys.
going?
I am going, for a little trip. I'm going to Italy.
Oh,
So, I just, baby boy want to see the world. So the baby boys, Wendell and
Hey.
Jack, will be holding me down in my absence. So y'all have to let me know in the comments
we
who
might
is
have to
the
pull up with a
moderator.
special guest too.
It will be amazing. But Jack Atkins, thank you so much again for covering this week with us and pulling up to Philly. Truly a treat. And listen, with the Hoochie Daddy shorts, Jack out here, a whole zaddy in the calendar. Okay. Okay. Jack giving us some thigh action. And on that note, this is your
Survivor
News.
Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Dot.